almost the same ideation that is being implemented in AIRC here. So we can see some research direction that have been performed at AIRC. So from 2022 down towards 2025, which is a kind of like a future project that will take place, smart solution and platforms, artificial intelligence. So we have seen from the big trend about 5 spec of projects that has already taken place, and then 2025 from 2023 has been the focus for our research direction. But these are some of the activities that have taken place within the lab. So just some few photos to indicate the establishment of the research center, control space, appointment, and some production rooms where we cohabit with internship students, other researchers, and as well the environment. So the environment welcomes everyone. So a quick introduction to generative AI. I want to use the keyword generative. Generative is from the word generation. So we produce. Okay, so generative AI is simply a class of artificial intelligence that they create content based on the input data that we provide. So content are created based on the input data. So we have examples as text inputs, audio inputs, or video inputs that are provided to the system, and then we have an output based on that input data. Okay? So a quick journey to understanding generative AI. So initially it started as artificial intelligence, and then it's a simulation of human intelligent processes, and then we move down to machine learning, deep learning, and finally to generative AI. Now, so if you look at it, the context is that from AI to ML basically is used by data scientists, but then generative AI now, which is now available to developers and to open source models. So we have algorithms as ChatGPT, DALL-E, and Codex as part of tools that create generative AI. So the core models are the GAN model, the base model. We have the transformer models. The vanilla model is a variation of the GAN model. The conditional GAN is also a variation of the GAN, and then the median pyramid, and then the super resolution. The diffusion model. These are just all few models. There are more of the variations of this model, but just to have an understanding of the core models that are there in generative AI. However, there are main components of the generative AI. So the main components are 4 actually: the data processing layer, the generative model layer, and then the feedback layer, and as well as the deployment and integration layer. So these are the main components that make up the generative architecture. Okay. So when you look at the components, the layers are 5. The technical aspect. So we have if you look at it, we have the core models, which are so many of them that can be used, but then we have the main components, 4 of them that we have to consider: the data, the generation layer, the feedback, and then the deployment and integration. So these are the technical aspects of those models. So we have the application layer, the data, the LLMops, and then we have the model layer, and then the infrastructure layer. So these make up the technical aspect of the Gen AI. So when we talk about these technical aspects, so we also have to look at the components of the technical aspects, such as the computer hardware that will be used, because generative AI is requires more computing power in order to facilitate the generation. So systems like NVIDIA Bubble provide hardware systems. So because we need them. We also have the cloud models. So in a situation whereby organizations are unable to provide hardware So they can consider also the cloud model in order to utilize the platform for generations of their system. Then we have the foundation model. So the foundation models are models that have already been designed or pre-trained. So you don't need to start developing from the basics. So you start building up on that. And then we have also the model ops, whereby these are applications that we can now build them on top of the foundation model. So these are the technical aspects of components that we have to consider. And so we have given example now for the hardware. We have NVIDIA, Google, TSMC. For cloud, we can have Amazon and Microsoft. For the foundation model, we open AI. And then for model ops, we have the replica for the forging phases. So all this creates what we call the components that make up the generative AI system. So, but we need to develop just beyond text and images, and in order to consider that, we have to also consider some other few models that can be used. So we have the large language models, the text-to-image models, fine-tuning models, GAN, as we have seen them previously, autoaggressive, stable diffusion transformer, chatbots, and multi-models. All these models can be used in terms of building a generative system. Now, but there is also architecture consideration for startup in order to be ready. So one, application layer. So we need to consider some focus areas when we want to set up a generative system. So one, we have the application layer, the fine-tuning, the model, the data, and infrastructure layer. These are very important in terms of consideration if you want to start up. And then how to select the foundation model. We need to consider the project requirements, the cost implications of what the system would be, the data privacy, the customization and control model, then support and community. These are very important. We will also have to look at the scalability and performance of the model that we're trying to look at, the legal and ethical consideration, because sometimes generative AI, or most times, they can provide content that are copyrighted or that are not supposed to be out in the public. So availability of skills and resources for organizations as well, long-term viability of the system and integration with existing systems. So these are just basic areas of consideration if one wants to consider developing as a startup a generative AI. So the business risk is also part of the considerations. One, it can lead to potential reputational damage for an organization.